Cool. Okay, so here we are. I have a fly in my face. Community call for Hylo. This is the first one we've done in actually quite a while. Krisha has been doing office hours regularly. But as far as like our larger stakeholder calls, it's been a little while. And so we really, really wanted to share all the things that have happened since, honestly, I think it was February. Um, and yeah, a lot is moving. We have a lot of new releases, a lot of new partnerships. Um, yeah, just really good stuff. And that is the context of this call. We really like to share all these things with our community, both the people that are part of building Hylo, the people that are partners, leaders of groups on Hylo, and the wider ecosystem that is watching and waiting to see Hylo's journey. So our journey continues. And my name is Claire Politano. I'm the product lead, partnerships lead. I do a lot on this. And I'm calling in from Ohlone land, which is colonially known as Oakland, California. A lot of our team is based here in the Bay Delta bioregion. And yeah, that's the landscape that we are in service to in this work. And yes, I want to honor the people of this land, the beings of this land. And I want to honor all the purpose-driven groups that have come to Hylo because you share our values and are all working to make the world work for all in a way that calls to your care. So thank you so much. And thank you for everyone that is here joining us today on this call. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to share about all the latest development releases. Tibet is going to go through those, chat about them a bit, do a little quick demo of some of the things. I'm going to share a bit about our governance journey to date. It is ongoing and happening. I'm going to share a bunch about partnerships. I'm going to share some ways to get involved now and in the near future, and then we'll go into discussion. And just some quick stats. This month, we had 61 active groups, which we're measuring at 1 or more posts per week, and 144 new groups this month. So that's pretty cool. People are showing up to see what Hylo is all about. And yeah, without further ado, I will turn it over to Tibet. Tibet, are you ready to share about the latest?
Sure. Do you want to take us to the next slide?
Yes.
So yeah, we've launched a bunch of amazing stuff over the last 6 months. Some of this has been out for a while, especially this section on farm features, but we haven't presented on one of these calls yet. And maybe someone can share the link to the blog post about all of it, or our work with Open Team on the farm specific features, in case you haven't seen that. So I'm going to be pretty quick and not do a full demo of all of this. But working closely with Open Team, the open technology ecosystem for agricultural management, and bringing Hylo into their ecosystem of open source tools for farmers and ranchers and land stewards. It's just been an amazing partnership, and it's still just beginning. We've launched kind of the first version of our integration with them and specific features for farm groups, but there's much more to come. And yeah, maybe before doing a little bit of demo, I'll just touch on the kind of API and integration piece. We did a lot of work in the background to set up Hylo to be a OAuth and OpenID Connect for the technical folks provider. And so this is going to set the foundation for a lot of things, including API integrations with other platforms. The first one there is with SurveyStack, which is Open Team's open source survey tool. And so all the kind of farmers, land stewards onboard into the Open Team ecosystem through SurveyStack. We spent a lot of time on a common set of questions, like a common onboarding profile, which is actually a very powerful thing to have, and piece of our collaboration is to develop the set of questions that all farms ask that gather the data that goes to all the different tools in the ecosystem. And so then SurveyStack integrates with Hylo and immediately creates users and creates the farm group in Hylo, sends over all the farm data. And I'll show a little bit of that momentarily. Also with our our OAuth stuff, we now have the ability for other platforms, other websites to add sign in with Hylo, kind of like sign in with Facebook or Google. As we become more and more used and trusted, we're hoping that people decide to lean on Hylo as a more trusted sort of provider of authentication and user data, and the place where they have their profile, and then they can sign into other platforms using Hylo. So yeah, let me jump into quick demo, and I'll show the group explorer and some of the location stuff we worked on with them, and the farm profiles as well. Actually, here I am on a map, and actually maybe real quick, first thing is the new map layers we added. So we have the ability to now change your map to show street view or satellite view. And our first kind of additional layer is native territories, which is using the data from nativelands.ca. If you haven't seen that platform, it's really powerful, beautiful work they're doing. Oh, that was actually another fun feature that snuck in there, where if you click and hold on the map for a second, you can now create a post directly at a location, which is very useful, especially in the mobile version of Hylo, where maybe you're walking around and you notice something that you want to put on the map in your group. Yeah, so I wanted to show that really quick. And then one thing that's really exciting is our public group explorer. And so this is the beginnings of being able to find groups to get involved in. If you're joining Hylo and you're not a part of a group or not trying to start one, we now have the ability to look for groups that are close to you. So for example, I remember when we launched this and I found this outdoor therapies for BIPOC behavioral and mental health. I was like, wow, that's happening in Oakland, California, and they are on Hylo. So very cool and exciting to start being able to find groups to get involved in. And then farms here, we have launched our first special group type, and we're going to have other group types in the future that are a little bit customized. And you'll notice there's definitely some test data in here. We're still doing a lot of testing of it. You can see what kind of a full-fledged farm would look like with all the different farm details coming in through SurveyStack and the products they offer and the size and opportunities to collaborate, where they are on the map. There's a few in here that are kind of real, but we're still in that kind of early process of starting to onboard farms in through this process. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to share on the farm side. Maybe there's, well, actually, yeah, if you want to jump back to the next slide, and then I can jump back into demoing. We had another significant recent release, some exciting upgrades to our usability. You'll notice that Hylo is much more beautiful and readable. Kind of did a lot of a style pass on our style and just making it, yeah, easier to look at, easier to find, and the data in the posts, especially posts like events in particular, look much more just readable and usable. And then I'll go through the custom views and the grid views. So yeah, I'll just actually jump right back into the demo. And well, one other thing I'll mention there is public posts. So we now have the ability to share a link to a public post with someone who is not signed into Hylo at all, and it'll bring up just a public post page. This is super useful for full events, but also could be useful for other post types. And if people want to interact, comment, say they're coming to the event, then they have to sign up for Hylo. But we think that's going to be super useful for beginning to share and spread and have Hylo kind of infiltrate out into the world more. All right, let me share my screen one more time. Oh yeah, so let's see if I go to building Hylo. First of all, you can see the new posts. The tags are much easier to find. The post types are using icons now. Everything just looks better. We also have added these two new views, a grid, like a sort of large grid view, and a dense grid view, which are particularly useful for the custom views, which I'll show in a moment. Over here on the left, you'll notice that we now have these two links, Hylo docs and Hylo codebase. These are just links to our Git book and to our GitHub, but the fact that they're right in the left navigation bar and super visible and have the icons of the platforms, this is one version of our what we're calling custom views or custom links. And we think this is going to be super powerful and useful. So let me show you in the group settings here. We now have this custom view section, and you can add as many as you want. And then the other really cool thing, so you can pick an icon for them. One that I'm really excited about that we've added to some of our groups is open requests and offers. So you can see the set of requests and offers that are still available and that people want to, may want to interact with. This is something that I wanted to build into the platform, and now we have it as something that you can just add yourself if you want. So I will put it in the grid view, display requests and offers, only include active posts. That's where it's saying like only open ones. And you could actually filter by a topic if you wanted to. I won't do that here. So let me save my changes there. And now we have these open requests and offers. And we'll see what is going on. There's still a bunch. And one thing that's useful about this is maybe that some of these things are no longer open. So actually, here we go. From 1 year ago, join the stewardship team. This is something that maybe Claire wants to go in and check off. Oh, actually, this is not actually still available.
Yep, I will do that.
So yeah, really, really powerful, useful feature. And we're super excited about that. Let's see, was there anything else I wanted to show here? I think that's it. We do have, well, I can show in under projects. We have added a special field for a donation, link to a donation page and to a project management page for projects. And these will show kind of big and bold on the project. And also we use the link. So if you point to Kickstarter or Indiegogo, or if you point to Trello or Asana, it'll pull in the link for those pages, or for those websites. And
the logo.
Yeah. So don't have a demo of that lined up, but that was, yeah, just a small, really useful thing to make projects more valuable. Yeah, I think that's all I'll demo. There's much more. I don't know if we've shown people if you can now do text formatting, and there's a huge, right now you can just do bold and italic, but we're about to launch a much bigger version of this with a toolbar that does all the formatting you could possibly need with headers and lists. And yeah, it's going to be really exciting, and embedded videos as well. So all of that's coming very soon.
Thanks, Tibet.
Yeah.
So exciting. Yeah, those are two huge releases. And yeah, just to reiterate, the first one was through our partnership with Open Team and Regen Network. And then the second set of things is through our partnership with Salmon Nation, which I'm about to speak to a little bit later. So huge thank you to those partners for working with us to develop these features on Hylo that everyone can now use. So on that note, I'm going to share about our governance process. So we started a little Hylo governance group over a year ago, and we quickly realized that governance is a huge thing and a huge journey. And before we can really create a clear container to invite all of our contributors and stakeholders into, we had some internal homework to do. So what we've been doing over the last year is embarking on our own internal governance journey. And this is a little slide illustrating where we are. This is actually from our latest secret slide deck that we haven't totally launched yet, but we're about to launch soon, so sneak peek. But we've been on a journey to implement Sociocracy internally. And many of you, I'm sure, are already familiar with sociocracy. But in brief, it is a governance practice for distributed decision making that really pushes power from the center out to the edges, empowers everyone, and operates based on trust and consent. And so the idea is that there are circles that have specific aims and domains, areas that they are responsible for, and that they are empowered to make decisions on without having to get it approved by some external authority. And so this is the structure of where we are so far in developing our circles. So the general circle is the group that has representation from all the subcircles. And then these are the different circles that we've identified for the areas of work that are happening internally on Hylo. And yeah, I will say that it's totally a journey. For anyone out there that has worked with sociocracy, it has like so many strengths. And I will say that it's not a fast process. So it's something that we're really taking our time with and trying to get right. And we're going to be sharing more about this in an upcoming blog. Yeah, there's a lot of lessons learned, but so far, I would say it feels awesome and it feels like we're making a lot of progress here. And there are two pieces that are really we're really going to be looking at more deeply over the coming seasons. And that is that we're setting up our advisory circle right now. We're sending out invitations to some awesome humans in the world that we really respect and want to invite into guidance to help keep Hylo accountable. And so that is coming soon. And then reimagining our stakeholder circle is something that is coming soon, because we really want to have a clear container to invite stakeholders into. People that are our partners, obviously representing like the user groups themselves, like just humans that are members of Hylo and with us on this journey. I really don't like the word users. And then people that are stewarding groups. Like those are some of like our deepest stakeholders. And figuring out how to channel the voices of our stakeholders, which is like, hundreds of people, figuring out how to channel everything that we're hearing from them in a way that is really organized, provides like really clear avenues for input and feedback, and allows our stakeholders to have more of a formal voice in influencing our development roadmap is the journey that we're going to be going on. And our advisory circle is going to help us with that as well. Right now, what happens, as many of you know, that anyone can suggest ideas. We have an Airtable form where we receive ideas. We receive ideas in building Hylo, and we receive ideas through our partnership conversations and other stakeholder conversations. And what happens currently is that the core team really integrates that. We spend a lot of time thinking about these things, discussing these things, working with what we've heard, and using that to inform our prioritization and how we design the features that we design. But that's still a pretty internal process, and it's way more opaque than I think it needs to be. It's really important for our value for transparency to make all of this way more public and way more participatory. So yeah, just letting you know that this is where we are so far, and the journey is going to continue. And I'm excited to open it up as much as we can and start getting a lot more input and ideas about ways to weave in stakeholder voices in a more rigorous way. Yeah. Okay, so that is what I have to say about that. And now I'm going to share about partnerships. So we have really awesome partners, and yeah, really like what we do on Hylo is in service to them. I think the way that we work is really special because we are working directly with groups that exist. They have real needs right now, and we are working together to identify how technology can solve those needs. And then that's what we build. So this is not happening in a vacuum. This is not happening through like speculative VC capital deciding what is going to make lots of money for people, for a few rich people. We're building to meet real needs as we go all the time. And yeah, we have some awesome partners that are with us on this journey. So Open Team, you've heard a ton about already, and all the work that we did, that we launched, that Tibet just spoke to, they are now in the process of onboarding different farmer networks onto Hylo to use these tools. So we actually had an in-person kickoff in Maine that I made the journey to go to and participate in, and I got to meet the fellows in person, and they're all awesome. It's so cool, the groups that they're supporting. Um, I have the list here of all the different pilot networks that are being supported, and it's a whole range of groups. It's very diverse, ranging from like smallholder, regen ag, BIPOC producers, all the way to General Mills and their programs supporting regen ag in commodity crop, like broad acre operations. So it's really cool. We are going to get a ton of feedback from these growers. We're already learning a lot. So stay tuned on our learnings from this partnership. Okay, Regen Foundation. So Regen Network, Regen Foundation, we've been good friends with them for a while. And recently, Regen Foundation nominated or has selected Terran Collective as one of their community staking DAOs. And Terran Collective, for anyone that's not familiar, is the core stewardship team that is taking care of Hylo. And we've been given this, it's a large token delegation, basically in honor of the work that we do locally in our bioregion. And the desire is for us to participate in their governance of Regen Ledger and involve local land stewards and regenerative practitioners in that governance. So what this effectively means is that we'll be creating a bioregional DAO in the Bay Area and bringing these voices in to guide the direction of Regen Ledger. So for anyone that's in the Bay Area, you're invited to be a part of this, and you're going to be hearing a lot more about this as we go, because we're just getting started with them. Yeah, so that's a cool thing, and we will be hosting this on Hylo, and we are really aiming for Hylo to be able to support place-based groups that are really doing regenerative activity on the ground in their local context. And I see these as like real life DAOs, like they're actually doing something in a peer-to-peer way, and supporting them with technology that meets their needs is really important to us, because there's not really a lot of tools out there for place-based peer-to-peer activity. So yeah, that's the update there. Definitely more on that to follow. Okay, Salmon Nation. And I have just a couple more of these, and yes, the monologue will not last forever. So Salmon Nation is a group that we love. They represent the bioregion of Pacific salmon. So the territory from the North Slope of Alaska all the way down to the Bay Area. So this is another bioregional group. And we have been working with them to co-develop the features that Tibet mentioned, the custom views, video embedding, a bunch of cool things to support projects. And we built those features in advance of their new initiative, the Edge Prize. And this is the first time we're talking about it. So this is like totally the alpha, and this is the scoop. We're going to be launching it later this month, or in the next few weeks, really. And but I got permission to talk about it now. And this is a partnership between Terran Collective, Salmon Nation, and Hylo. And we are going to create a bioregional community of local leaders at the edges. And the edges are rural, remote, but they can also be urban. What's different about the edge compared to the center is that the center is a historically empowered part of our communities. So traditional wealth holders, people that have benefited from privilege. And the edges are places and communities that have been historically marginalized or oppressed, and or just left out of big conversations. And so we know that regeneration actually happens primarily at the edges, because it's someone that is in contact with the earth or in contact with other people in their communities heart to heart, one on one, doing that work. It happens in a distributed way. And so we want to celebrate those people and we want to unite them in a way that they can support each other as a peer-to-peer network all across the bioregion, sharing what works in their local context in a way that we can replicate it and support it and amplify it. So there's prize money involved, and there's also a peer-to-peer community of mutual support that we're putting together also on Hylo. And this group, again, we really see it becoming a DAO that can make decisions together over shared resources. Part of the Edge Prize is that there will be shared resources for this community to allocate together. And one of the ways that we're gathering some of those resources is through a Gitcoin grant. Gitcoin is a project that uses quadratic voting to match small contributions. So the more small contributions something gets, the bigger the match that it gets. And so we have a Gitcoin grant in place to start raising money for the Edgewalkers, that's the name of the group, to embark on a really cool mission, which is to develop an eco credit that would run on Regen Network that would measure and reward place-based and particularly indigenous stewardship in Salmon Nation. And so these groups are already doing the coolest, most groundbreaking stuff to take care of their landscapes, and they could be rewarded for it through this mechanism. And they are the ones in the best position to say, like, what does regeneration actually look like in this landscape? So we're going to be working with Regen Network on supporting this group in developing an eco credit that recognizes what they already do. Yeah, I know there's a lot of moving parts there, and I'm happy to answer questions about it when we get to the end. But just something that we're really excited about. And we'll be chatting a lot more and sharing a lot more out with our community over the coming weeks about this. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to share about Holochain. Holochain, I know that there's a number of folks here that are super stoked to hear about that. The last time we had a stakeholder call, it was the thing that was most asked about. So we've been in conversation with the core team at Team Holo. Yeah, totally in support of what's happening there. It's very exciting. It's coming along. And we sent one of our full-time engineers, Lauren Johnson, to their immersive in Austria in July. And I got the whole download from him. And things are looking good. Things are looking good. And it's not quite time for us to move our entire backend onto Holo. And that is because there are still some things that need to be built in the core infrastructure. But what we, and I can go into that later if that's desired. But what we can say is that there's a Holochain launcher, which is the current way that people can run the like demo apps that are running on Holochain. And he has restored the legacy Hylo app that was originally running on a Holo backend. That is 99% ready to be back on the launcher so that people can test it out and play around with it. And it has pretty basic functionality. It's just like posts and comments and messages, but it totally gets the point across and is very exciting. So once that gets on there, we'll share out about that and people can totally play around with it and experience that. Yeah, so that's really, really cool. And what that means is that we can then periodically start like updating it and pulling new features from the Web 2 Hylo over to the Holochain version of Hylo and keep updating that and doing more and more that's running on their system. So that's what I would say is the how we might move forward. Yeah, we have a lot more to decide on about what the best next steps are, what the best features are. Another approach that we've been talking about with their team is that we could pick a couple of discrete features within Hylo and have those running seamlessly on a Holo backend. And so someone interacting with the app wouldn't even have to know anything about Holo or do anything special, but we could have basically, technically it's a headless Holo agent would be running in the background, and powering the interaction with that specific content or that specific feature. So that's a brief overview of where we are right now. And if there's interest, I can dive more into that. Okay. Second to last one. Tibet, would you like to jump in and share about Armillaria?
Sure. Yeah, we have a close relationship with our friends at Armillaria, especially Madeline Martiniere, who has been working with me also on the Collaborative Technology Alliance. And we just formed our first kind of official partnership agreement with them to build out some features in Hylo for a group they're working with called Kobe, which is a network of fisheries in Mexico. And interestingly, they basically they have a mobile app that's sort of the logbook for their fisheries, and they wanted community features. And so they built out some of a front end modeled after Hylo, and then decided they just wanted to basically build it on top of Hylo and get all the features that we have, but they're using their own front end. And so it's a really great first opportunity to use our APIs and have them interact with our backend server using our APIs, but using their app and their UI that they've built. So yeah, working with them on making sure our APIs are functional and documented, and that's really exciting. And then we are in process with Armillaria in relationship with Zebras Unite, which is an amazing kind of co-op of co-ops of new economy organizations. And we've been talking with them about also moving them over to Hylo. This is also still kind of in the works. It's not official yet, but hoping that this happens soon. And some of the main things we would work on with them are multi-language support, which is super key, as we know, as we want to grow and expand around the world. And also, yeah, so yeah, just a couple of previews of what's coming next.
Cool, thanks, Tibet. Yeah, so we're now talking about things that we are embarking on our work on right now. So the work with Armillaria and these two groups. And then the other big one for us is a group called the Tribal Resource Center. They are part of a larger nonprofit called the People-Centered Internet. And TRC is all about expanding broadband digital connectivity to Indigenous communities in North America. And they do that through a peer-to-peer network of tribal members who are helping each other. And so they are going to be moving their community onto Hylo, and we're working together to develop a couple of really key, exciting feature sets to support that work. So the first one is a resource library, something that people have been asking us for a long time. And so what that means is basically a special view for resources that have been shared in the group that can be searched and sorted by the type of resource it is, link, attachment, video, physical resource, and curated in special ways by the stewards of the group themselves. So we're in a co-design process with TRC about the resource library and how that will meet their needs. And then the second thing with them is topic-based chat. Okay, this is really exciting. By topic-based chat, what I mean is chat channels. So this is going to be a Slack or Discord-like experience on Hylo. So on the left-hand side where we have the topics, the hashtag topics, when you click on those, after we roll this out, it's going to be a stream of chats. So this is super exciting because the way that we communicate, like the nitty gritty as you're like working something out through online communication, like you're probably just chatting things. And just getting out that like one line chat is so important, and being in a conversation is so important. And there is a little bit of a lift to create a post. You have to have a title. You have to decide what type of post it is. You might add a date and photos, and that is awesome. And that's still a relevant paradigm for communication, but the chat paradigm is also really critical at this time. So being able to build this into Hylo is something we've been wanting for so long, and we're so excited about it. And we even already have designs for it. So here's a preview in for example, the fundraising topic. So you can see that there's actually the posts are woven in with the chats. And so it's going to be one stream of posts and chats that all have that hashtag. And we hope that this will have like a unifying and a streamlined experience for folks and make it much easier to participate in a conversation that is scoped to a specific topic. So yes, and Tibet has mentioned this is going to include emoji reactions, critical functionality, totally necessary. So yeah, we're stoked about this. We'll definitely be talking about this and sharing designs in the Building Hylo group on Hylo. But really excited to announce this. And so the work with TRC, we're embarking on it now. We're going to be building it over September and October, and you can look out for a November release on these things. Yeah, cool. Okay. So real quick, here's some ways you can get involved. If you're not already, you are all invited into the Building Hylo group on Hylo. I'm sure most of you here are, but there's the link just in case. With multi-language support, again, that's a thing that's so huge for us and we've been wanting for so long. So it's really exciting that that is coming out too in the next coming season. We're going to be starting with Spanish, obviously, to support Kobe, and that's a really important language in general, of course. And that being said, we're going to be looking for translators who can offer translation of the Hylo UI so that we can start adding additional languages. And once the infrastructure is in place to support one additional language, it's going to be very easy, pretty trivial to add many other languages. So obviously, French is another one we've been asked for. Portuguese, basically the UN languages, will be a great place for us to start. But we're really open to hearing any key languages for anyone on this call or for anyone listening to this later. And anyone that would like to contribute by offering translation. That would be a really, really awesome way for someone with language skills to contribute to Hylo. Yeah, okay. And then the Bay Area Bioregional DAO that I mentioned, that is coming along. And if you want to participate in that, if you're part of the Bay Area, there's a Hylo group for that. And then finally, just wanted to share the Gitcoin grant page again. And that one, I'd really love it if folks here could share that on and communicate about that with the community to help spread the word on that. Because with Gitcoin, it's all about quantity, and like the more people that are making small donations, the better, because then they get a bigger match. So that's an awesome way to participate with the work that we're doing with Salmon Nation too. Okay, that is the end of my monologue. Thank you for listening. We have almost 20 minutes for Q&A and conversation. So that's exciting. Yeah, and if folks want to use the raise the hand functionality or drop a question in the chat, we will get to that. Questions, comments? Oh yeah, I see a question from Anna and Jolene, right? Okay, cool.
Wow, you recognize Jolene.
I thought so. Hey, see you.
Well, we've been sitting in and also clicking around on Hylo, and are just really, really excited to see that there's development towards the resources library. That's very, very much a function that's pretty critical to what our project and vision is. So I have a post up on the Building Hylo group that I have not really gotten a chance to read through in detail right now, but it looks like you guys are in kind of early stages developing that, looking for insight right now.
Definitely.
Okay. Then we'll do our best to provide some feedback on what would be useful for us, because yeah, that's a function we're really, really interested.
What's the timeline for the research?
Yeah,
that's a good.
I would say we'll probably be in a design phase on that for the next few weeks. and then we're hoping to start building pretty soon.
That's awesome.
So yeah, kind of ASAP, not to rush, but the sooner you could share feedback, the better. The more able we'll be to work it in.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and just thinking about like what kinds of resources are you going to be sharing? How do they need to be curated or organized? How do you want to be able to search or filter for them?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
So like specific examples are great.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay.
There's a
Yeah.
couple of those.
Yeah, I think that's our homework for the next week.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
don't
that
have
would
to-
serve us really well to like get you a really well fleshed out input on that. So we'll do.
Awesome. Cool. Yay. Yeah. Anybody else? Oh, I see from Nathan, there's an upcoming planetary health meeting late October. Yeah. Nathan, do you want to share a little bit more about it and maybe the best way for us to plug in?
Well, it's an open question, I think. I think Max Zimberg was closely connected to the Turan team,
Mhm.
and the last planetary health in April of last year, there was quite a bit of Hylo presence and an ongoing relationship with Planetary Health Alliance. So
Mhm.
I'm just curious, there are plans in place, just because I know this community, Planetary Health, is more or less synergistic, synonymous with so many of the core principles, what we're discussing here. And
Mhm.
so just curious if that's on the map or radar, and if not, I'm planning to be there and
Mhm.
have some footprint or site, so would be happy to talk more about what might be possible.
Mm. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Part of it's in person, is that right? It's in Boston? Cool. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great question. I think we'll check in with the PHA team and see what's the best way for us to support that. Yeah, PHA is the biggest and most active group on Hylo. They are awesome, over 1,000 people on Hylo, and there are posts all the time. Yeah, and we're so aligned with what they're doing. So yeah, that's a really great suggestion. Thank you, Nathan. Yeah. Okay, I see Anita has a hand raised. Hey, Anita.
Hey, wanted to check in about onboarding. I heard something in the presentation that onboarding had been changed a little bit. Is that changing on the whole platform or just within the farming, or how does that work?
I think that you are maybe seeing something about the farm onboarding.
Okay.
Because for regular individual humans joining Hylo, there are not any big changes, although some updates have been made to like streamline it and make it even more secure. For example, with a two-factor auth code. But what's happening with the farms is that there's an integration with this open source tool survey stack that Open Team created. And the farmers and also the fellows that are working with them can lead the farmers through filling out a survey about their farm. And then through an API connection, that farm group automatically gets created on Hylo. And the people associated with that farm have Hylo accounts created, and they get invited into the group automatically. So that's a really, really cool thing, but just specific to that special group category.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I jump in? Sorry, I forgot to raise my hand.
Yeah.
Following the farmers and the fellows around that, do you guys know if there are any fellows that would be active in our area? So we're here in Reno, or I think some, I know no one's based in this area, but do they like do any kind of remote work or like working to support communities that they're maybe not directly based in. I guess that's kind of like against the concept of the fellow. Or
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, we're also really like backstages of, I guess, like fleshing out a network that then eventually we want to like onboard people into. Any way we can just like put it out there that like a year or two from now, it would be really cool to have a fellow in the area, and anyone we should tell that to.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. Like it is a super on the ground, in person experience. And Krisha just posted in the chat the blog post from Open Team about who each fellow is and the organization they're working with. And I don't think there's any that are active in Nevada this time, but this is just the very first cohort of this program that's happening. And I know that Open Team is expecting to run many future cohorts and continue expanding.
Yeah.
And they are always looking for producer networks to join Open Team as a hub. And basically what that means is that it's also kind of like the pilot program, like that group agrees to be in relationship with Open Team to test out the tools in the toolkit, to give feedback on them and help shape them to really serve the needs of their producers. So I can make a connection for you both to figure out what is the pathway to become a hub or be on the docket for a future cohort.
Yeah, that'd be really, really interesting. Yeah, anyone you can connect us to on that. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, totally. That is easy. Cool. Yeah, and I see in the chat a question from Nathan about the bioregion and bioregions in general. And that's totally worth sharing about, because a bioregion is really not a discrete, rigid boundary. It's more of a membrane. And it's really about the intersection between ecology, geology, hydrology, the territories of plant and animal species, and human social activity. So and every human is able to define their own bioregion, and you can exist at an intersection of many different bioregions. And really, we are kind of, the word I like to use is palimpsest, which is like a layer, like many layers of information that create new information through the perception of those layers in combination. So for example, the Bay Delta bioregion is defined by the state of California. So that one's like kind of rigid, and it's looking at the Sacramento River and all the rivers that drain off of the Sierras and into the Bay. But then at the same time, we consider ourselves part of Salmon Nation, which is a much larger bioregion that is really defining itself based on the territory of a specific species, the Pacific salmon, and the cultures that are impacted by that species, which are a lot of cultures throughout the west coast of North America. So it's not a rigid thing. And that's something that that's both really cool and really challenging. We've been wanting to put a map of bioregions on Hylo, but because of this subjective nature of it, there's not really like a globally recognized data set that is like, here's the definition of all the world's bioregions. The closest thing is that some groups have developed maps of ecoregions, but it's really not the same because they don't take into account humans. So it's something that we have just been doing a lot of thinking about. And if anyone else out there, like Nathan, if you're really into bioregions, or if you've seen really cool data sets that you feel are representative, we're always interested in hearing about that. But the biggest thing is that we added a feature for groups to define their own geographic territory. So if you're a group steward and you look inside the main settings page, there's a place where you can literally draw on a map the territory associated with your group. So that could be a neighborhood, it could be like a stream going through a county, it could be an entire country, it could be a mountain range. Like that is for any group to determine the territory that they are associated with. And those will be showing up on the map more and more as well. So it's really subjective, and it's really something that the groups themselves have governance over. Like it's not for us to say top down what all the different bioregions are. That's my speech about bioregions. But yeah, it's subjective and it's loose. So like if you think that if you're interested in the bioregion, even if you're not like quite within the boundary, like you're probably fine. In response to Nathan, your chat. Cool. Any last remarks from anyone?
I guess I'll just jump in and say that we are about to share a new fundraising deck that kind of tells the story of Hylo much more well articulated way than we have yet, and our vision and what we're trying to do. And yeah, we're definitely looking to bring in a bigger chunk of funding in the coming months, allow us to kind of build up a team and give us a bigger runway. As you know, we get closer and closer to what I still think of as like a bigger public launch. Like I still kind of feel like we're in this early adopter phase and focusing on partners that we're really aligned with, and not trying to bring in a ton of users yet. But the set of features that we talked about today, to me, will like really get us to that place. You know, translation, topic-based chat, or the text formatting. Like we're really, really close to a place where I will feel super excited to tell everyone I know to use Hylo. And you know, helping us get there will certainly include bringing in some fundraising. So just wanted to say we will be sharing that deck soon. Would love any and all support, kind of sharing it around, and connections with partners or potential funders. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Tibet. I feel like I want to share the link with everyone on this call.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Here it is. Yeah, sneak peek for all of you. And I think what we're going to do is, yeah, probably do another Zoom in the next few weeks and like share it and present it, and start talking about it a lot more publicly. But it's almost done. And so y'all can check it out and give us any input that you have if you'd like. Yeah. Well, I think that's everything for today, and we can even end a few minutes before the hour. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and being here with us today, and your questions and contributions. And thanks to anyone listening who made it to the end. Yeah, we're really stoked to be on this journey. Really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for your faith in us and your energy and contributions. And yeah, until next time. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Blessings.